Some of the content covered may be graphic in nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Witchcraft.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely it's really just
I love stories like this because
it's someone scared to death.
Yeah, that's a real thing. Just paranormal stories bad enough. People that you shouldn't fuck with.
Right, and the JFK assassination all
too real.
From the mistake on the lake, deep within the Great American Rust Belt. I bid everyone good morning, I fucked it up on the last one. God damn it. All right, hold on. Let me go back and do that again.
Some of the content covered may be
All right. For the mistake on the lake, deep within the Great American Rust Belt, I bid you all good morning, good evening, wherever you are, wherever you may be across the nation, around the world. This is T3TV. I'm your host, John Batinski, alongside Dan Stephen Rady.
What is up?
And
I know I didn't stutter that bad when I said it.
No, that's just me mixing. And Buddha, Stephen Rady Gibson.
Wow. What's up?
Yeah, he looks fucking stupid.
All right. Good evening, everybody. All right. That's enough of the sound effects for tonight. All right. So, got a big show, king-size show planned for you tonight. It is hotter than hell in my office / studio / whatever this is. And so, we're going to go as long as I possibly can. So, how are you gentlemen doing tonight?
Just waiting for this week to end.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty okay.
Yeah. You've been working outside at all this week? It's been a great week so far.
Yes, I have. It's fucking hot.
Yeah, it was like 85 today. So,
yeah, I got a little bit of sun.
Yeah.
John, you're like super quiet.
Am I? See, Dan said I was super loud.
Well, you were when you were doing the testing, but now you're quiet.
Okay, well, my mix is good on the outbound, so let me... how about that? Is this a little better? Good evening.
Yeah, that's better.
Good morning. Good evening. All right, so yeah, no, it's been super nice around here. Went for a walk every single night this week. Took the dogs out for a walk. It was nice. So we'll chalk that up to a W. Dan, what happened this week for you? Anything big? Anything exciting?
No, not really too much. Something did happen, though, about 4 weeks ago that I kept forgetting to bring on the show that I kind of want to bring up, that I kind of an experience. I actually got to drive a Tesla for the first time.
You did? Really? Where at?
Yes. So my buddy's brother-in-law, I was at a birthday party for a friend, and his brother-in-law had released a Tesla named Sean back in November of last year. And I had driven in one last year, but I was just a passenger. And I think I talked about the experience, as a passenger in it. But this time he said, "Hey, you want to take it for a test drive?" I'm like, "Sure." So, I'm like, I want to see what this thing was really like. Now, it's not the fastest one they make, but it's not the slowest one they make. It's kind of like the middle of the road. It's pretty amazing car. I have to admit, as much shit I've talked about Tesla, if I had the money, I would, probably have one just for the hell of it, just because of the crazy features it has. But I'll tell you this, I've driven a lot of different cars. I've driven, you guys know, luxury cars, sports cars, SUVs, sedans, coupes, you name it. I pretty much, except for pickup trucks, I really never had one of those. But this is like an experience like no other. When you hit that accelerator, and he let me, I told him, I said, "Look, I'm gonna hit this pedal." He goes, "Go for it, man, go for it." And when you hit the pedal, I mean, you're like on a roller coaster. It's like you're driving the Top Thrill dragster at Cedar Point. Your head, I mean, you feel the force in your body when this thing takes off. It's like a hovercraft. I mean, it is an unbelievable experience that no matter what you've driven, no matter how fast of a car you've ever driven, you haven't driven anything like this Tesla. And I got to say, it was rather impressive. Amazing. It has that regenerative braking. So when the only thing you have to get used to is when you take your foot off the accelerator, the car actually, unlike our cars, a normal car that coasts, until it slowly slows down. This car actually starts braking as you take your foot off the accelerator. That's their design to help preserve power. But I mean, it takes a lot getting used to, because the car almost stops when you take your foot off the brake. It comes down to a quick descend, or well, not descend, that's not the right word, but a quick slowdown. And but yeah, it was just an amazing. I gunned it like 3 or 4 times, and I mean, I'm 0 to 60 in literally like 3 seconds. The car's at 65 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, is it pretty like? I don't want to say smooth is probably not the right word to describe it, but like like in a normal car, there's maybe a second or two before you really start to feel like inertia or the force pulling you forward. Is it different in that type of a car?
Yeah, I mean, when you hit the accelerator, I mean, like I said, it's instant. Because there's really no transmission in the car, so it's just thrusts you forward instantly. When you're driving, normally it's just like a normal car. I mean, you're driving, but there's really no noise because there's no engine, so you're just kind of like floating down the road. Not floating, might not be, like I said, hovering, because there's no engine sound, there's no transmission sound, there is no transmission. So, and then of course the car's got an abundance of crazy features. For example, he showed me, it's connected, it's synced to his cell phone, his smartphone. So if somebody walks up, he could be inside the house, and the car will notify him with all the cameras that there's somebody walking up to his car, near his car, and he can just talk right into his phone, and it distorts his voice in any way he wants. So he could say, he could just say, "Get the fuck away from my car," and the car will be like, "Get the fuck away from my," it'll sound like a distorted demon.
How does it sound, Dan?
That was a bad example. I know what you're going to say, who I sound like. Huh? I can't hear you, John.
Not going to work tonight, sorry.
Okay.
I tried to do Satan, but Satan wouldn't come back.
Well, that's what it sounded like.
He's on vacation.
No, but yeah, it's a good experience, a cool experience. I got to admit it. It would be something. If I had extra money to throw around, I would buy a Tesla. It wouldn't be my only car. Certainly wouldn't be my only car. I'd have other gas powered cars, but I would buy it just for the unique, how unique it is.
No shit. Yeah. Now, is it true? Like, you can also, because it's so weird that there's no transmission and no like engine sound, and it's essentially dead silent. I've heard a rumor, and I don't know if it's true, like you can actually turn on like a sound to like mimic that running sound in the background.
Well, I know I don't know if his car does it, because I didn't, obviously it was just a very quick test drive, so I didn't learn all the features of it, but I do know there's vehicles out there that do that because people want that engine sound.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just basically produces that sound through the speakers, the car sound system.
I've heard that you can can program everything and customize like even the sound it makes when you turn on your signal and shit.
That could be possible. Yeah. He didn't, like I said, he didn't go into it, but he showed me like all the features where it shows, like I said, the camera views, and I don't know if this one had the self-driving or not. I obviously didn't get involved with that, but the things that this car does, it'll make a farting sound. The car will actually fart.
Ah.
But when he hits a horn, instead of just a horn, it'll literally looks like it sounds like it's ripping a fart.
Yeah.
It doesn't make that sound effect.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Dan.
Yeah.
Just driving a friggin' Tesla.
Yeah, I know.
Like Rockford.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, Jim Rockford driving a Tesla. What would that be like? Cool. That's interesting. Buddha, what about you? Anything new popping up with you?
I did not drive a Tesla.
Yeah. All right. Very well.
That's about it.
All right. Good evening, everybody. That's it. We'll be back in 6 months. All right. Yeah. So big break coming up after this. We're going to take the summer off, regroup, come up with some new stuff, and we'll go from there. We'll do some quick news here real quick. Then Dan's got a news story, and then another interesting piece, and then we'll get Larry on tonight to talk about Antarctica. So, Dan, this one's for you. Of course, It's a sign-in article. Closing that one out. I like to read these cold. So, okay. So this one's more for me and Buddha. And I don't know, Buddha, if you've ever played the original, but Dead Space. They're remaking the original Dead Space. Have you seen that, Buddha?
Sorry, my mic was muted. Yeah, I did play the original, and they announced that they were remaking that a while ago.
Yeah. Today it got a release date. So the release date will be January 27th, 2023. So we're less than a year away from it. So that's kind of cool. First announced in July of 2021, Dead Space is a remake of the 2008 sci-fi horror game starring Isaac Clarke, an engineer who must battle a series of horrors known as the Necromorphs. The original developer Visceral Games was shut down in 2017, with co-creator Glenn Shuffold now working on a similar game set in the PUBG Battlegrounds universe titled the Castillo or Callisto Protocol. So, but yeah, I love this game. It's super creepy, and the fact that they're gonna do this on a more next-gen console, like the Resident Evil remake was amazing. At least part 2, the Resident Evil 2 one. So, but yeah, no, I
liked 3.
I like 3. I mean, 7, 8, the remake of 2, the remake of 3. They're all great. It was everything that you would want it to be as a kid. So, I mean, without it being entirely realistic. But you know, it's weird. Like, do you ever think they'll be able to animate games to where they look like actual people? I don't know. Like every time
they're really fucking close.
That's what
I was just going to say the exact same thing.
That new Unreal Engine, Unreal 5 or whatnot. Did you see the demos that they did for The Matrix? With that?
No, but I saw it when they first announced it. It was like a month ago or something.
Yeah, it was
and they had like a quick little trailer, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
It's insane. Like even like the way that the sun and the shadows that are cast in this environment, like it's insane just to think that like it looks pretty freaking real. So
and anybody can use it. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, isn't it open sourced?
Yeah, I believe it's free. Isn't it free?
I know Unreal 4 was free. I don't know if 5
Okay,
is
maybe
yet.
5's not. Let's check.
But yeah, I mean, I know that they were even like movie studios are using it now. I know that a lot of the Mandalorian is shot with Unreal Engine. So
a 5% royalty is due only if you're distributing an off-the-shelf product that incorporates Unreal Engine and the lifetime gross revenue from that product exceeds $1 million. So the first $1 million you make, no royalties.
Oh, wow.
Which, I mean, if you're a big fucking movie company like Star Wars is doing it, they're going to make fucking millions. So
Yeah.
Unreal is going to get a fat fucking stack of royalties.
Right. Huh. All right. Well,
Was that the game you were mentioning, John?
Yeah. So Dan, you were talking about a game off the air.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Off that wasn't definitely it, but that's a good game though. I do know that game. I was referring to Alan Wake.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're doing Alan Wake 2. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that's a yep.
So to roll into to kind of piggyback off of that, they actually announced the studio that's taking up the Alan Wake TV show, and it's going to be AMC, which basically tells me that they're not going to follow the fucking source material. I literally just texted your brother this probably a half an hour ago, and I was like, dude, fucking AMC picked it up. They're going to fucking butcher it because they did a hell of a job with the source material to The Walking Dead. And I believe I know there's 2 people working on it, and I think one of them was either the guy that directed Breaking Bad or was like a producer or something, and then one of the other things mentioned was somebody that worked on Walking Dead with AMC, which is probably going to be a shit show. Oh, and another thing, they released the trailer for the I'll send it to you, John, but they released the new trailer for the Resident Evil series, and good God, it is a pinnacle of utter fucking garbage, about what you would expect.
Dude, this fucking can you hear that in the background?
No.
A little bit.
Hold on.
I usually listen to music while you guys talk, so I can drown you out.
Oh,
Ah, now we know.
hold on. How about that, Buddha?
Some kind of Irish stuff.
Hold on.
Oh yeah, Poets of the Fall.
Yeah, or yeah, Old Gods of Asgard, the poet.
Yeah,
and
the
muse.
real band is Poets of the Fall.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Dude, this fucking song rips.
Too bad their original stuff actually sucks.
Oh, but yeah, that game was the shit. Did you beat the original one, Dan?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Long time ago, but
Did-
yep. I have the
Did
like
you
the
play the-
special edition kit. Where it's like that. It's like a book. You open up and it's got it's like a limited edition style. It wasn't just the cartridge. It wasn't just the disc by itself.
Yeah.
John, did you play the remaster of it?
I bought it and I started to, and no, I didn't finish it. But
Does
I
it
am
not
gonna,
hold up?
No, it does. It does. It was right when I was playing Back for Blood 2, which
Oh, you
again,
mean the one time?
yeah, get the fuck out of here. All right. All right.
You're the only reason I bought that game.
Yeah, we played it a couple times, you know.
Yeah, well, me, Al, and Matt finished it with some random guy on the internet.
Dan, this one's for you. This is a news story out of thestreet.com. Taco Bell adds a new meat, and it's actually meat. Some fast food items like McDonald's McRib, Starbucks Pumpkin Spice Latte, and KFC's Double Down reach legendary status. The McDonald's the McRib is an odd bone-free rib sandwich that popped up in menus since 1981. Since then, it has been offered at what seems random times throughout the U.S. locations. It's not always available, and the chain offers it when the pricing is right. Let's see here. Taco Bell changes. Well, where's the thing about Taco Bell?
Yeah,
Man,
that's what I wanted to hear.
I know. Like I said, I like reading these cold, but like Kahlua pork. Okay, so I guess Taco Bell's bringing Kahlua pork. While pork has been a staple of Chipotle's menu, it's not a regular for Taco Bell. The fast food chain has ground beef, chicken, and steak on its menu, but it does not offer pork except in Hawaii at limited times. Would you get pork from Taco Bell?
So just to clarify, their fake meat is still going to stay their fake meat.
I guess so. Well, what's fake about it?
I don't know. I don't eat tacos I don't eat their beef. I just have bean burritos from them. But I've heard from numerous people that it's like it's some kind of product it's a processed product that's not even like I can't remember what somebody said, but I've heard people say that the meat's not real.
It is, but it's full of like shit like cellulose and shit like that.
Yeah,
A bunch of fillers.
it's not just
But
right.
if you want to sit here and argue about what meat is real, I mean, fucking define that nowadays.
Right.
Well, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, you got all these places doing their what do they call them? Their green sandwiches. You
Yeah.
know, their
Yeah.
what's the word they
like
use?
soy
Beyond
burgers
Meat.
or veg like black bean burgers and shit.
yep,
Yeah, the
yep,
Beyond
Meat.
Yeah.
I wish
it's-
you'd be on my meat.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So it says here, what is Taco Bell seasoned beef made of? Well, they use 100% USDA premium beef in their seasoned beef. We prepare it much the same way you prepare taco meat at home. After simmering, it's drained of excess fat and pre-seasoned with our signature blend of 7 authentic seasoned and spices. It is then packaged with added water to lock in the flavor and moisture, then shipped to our restaurants. Each of our restaurants prepares the following beef in the same steps, ensuring that you are getting the same great tasting seasoned beef no matter which of our restaurants you visit, which basically just means that they throw it in a steamer and warm that shit up.
Right.
You remember, Buddha, remember steaming the bag of eggs?
Steaming the bag of eggs?
Yeah, when you
No.
worked the breakfast buffet?
I never cooked there. The guy that cooked there was always the old guy that complained about having a yeast infection.
Oh boy.
All right. Let's see. One more story for you guys here tonight. It says octopuses tragically destroy themselves after mating. We may finally know why. It says octopuses are doomed to be orphans from a very young age. After a female octopus lays her eggs, she stops eating and begins self-mutilating, tearing off her skin and biting off the tips of her tentacles. By the time the young octopus wriggles out of the egg, its mother is already dead. A few months later, its father will die too. The short, grim life of the octopus has long fascinated scientists. In 1944, researchers hypothesized that the mating was somehow hitting a molecular self-destruct button within the sea creatures. It's taken nearly 80 years, but the vague hypothesis is taking shape. Researchers have recently figured out that the mating seems to change several critical biochemical pathways based on cholesterol into various hormones in the female octopuses. We know that cholesterol is important from a dietary perspective and within different signaling systems into the body, too, explains molecular biologist Yan Wang, who conducted... all right. Let's get it out of our systems. While at the University of Chicago. It's involved in everything from the flexibility of cell membranes to production of stress hormones, but it was a big surprise to see it play a part in the life cycle process as well. Among humans, some precursors of cholesterol are toxic at high levels. Genetic disorders that increase cholesterol metabolism can therefore result in grave developmental and behavioral issues, including repetitive self-injury and feeding impairments. Severe cases can be life-threatening. It says the symptoms are oddly reminiscent of female octopuses in their final days, which suggests that researchers might be onto something. So basically what they're saying is that a spike in cholesterol may lead to self-harm. Is what I'm picking up what I'm putting, or I'm picking up what they're putting down here. So I don't know. You think there's credence to that, or
John? What the fuck are you talking about?
What? I just read you the whole article.
Yeah, I don't understand the question.
I said, do you think that there's credence to this study?
Or would you prefer to Yes, I would prefer to insult you.
Yeah.
But I think people have too much money to study shit that doesn't fucking matter.
All right. Well, then we'll go to Dan's story.
Okay. Well, this story is just something I happened to just come across by accident here just before we went on the air here, and it's definitely not making fun of the situation here. I hope this person's okay, but it was just one of those things that you see the headline and you just are kind of stop in your tracks here. So it's just a real quick story here. It says, and this is actually not too far from where we live here in Ohio. So, but it says, man's legs fill apartment floor with foul odor. Okay. So story goes, a woman at the Marcella Arms Apartments requested a welfare check on a downstairs neighbor on May 4th after noticing a foul odor coming from the apartment. Responding officers found the entire floor filled with the odor and located the resident. He said the smell was due to the severe condition of both of his legs. EMS responded EMS responded and the man was taken to the hospital for evaluation. So that's the story. That's really it right there. I really wonder what severe condition his legs could have had, unless they were rotting and decomposing, that would cause the entire floor to smell. They didn't go into any other details. That was basically the whole story right there. Just a little, blurb there. But what do you guys think?
I wonder if it had anything to do with maybe potentially being a diabetic. I know that it kills your limbs, and it usually starts at your feet. So,
I was saying, it's decomposing.
Cuts off the circulation.
I think so. Cool. And then, all right, Dan, what do you got for your other story? You had said that you had a consumer report.
Yeah, just a real quick one here. And basically, I did something like this several months ago for anyone that remembers or listens. I did something on Car Shield, and the aftermarket warranty companies, and how to beware, kind of like buyer beware of some of those companies. This one here, I wanted to just kind of quickly go over, and it's in regards to, I'm sure everyone's heard of it, JD Buyrider. They're you've heard of their stupid song on, their stupid commercials and everything. And, on the surface, it sounds like a great deal. If you're, this company is designed for people that have bad credit or no credit. They might not make a whole lot of money. They don't have a whole lot of money to put down. Maybe you only have $500 or $1,000 to put down on a car. And, it's their design to try to get them in a car. And that's fine. That's great. And, everyone has things that happen in life. People go through divorces. They have medical issues that cause, outrageous bills, divorces, bankruptcies, all that stuff, like I just said. So, I understand it looks like a good place to go to try to get yourself, most everyone needs a car, so it looks like a good place to go to that's going to get you financed, because that's what they say that they can do. But I did a little research, and I've never dealt with the company. I do know, I did have a friend many, many years ago, you guys know him, that did buy a car. This was back like in 2001, 2002 from them, and got totally, it shoved right up his ass. These people just took him for everything. And what happens is, I want to tell you the first thing about this. So anyone listening that is thinking about going to JD Byrider, you may see a car on the lot that you love. So you go up there, you see maybe it's a newer car, a luxury car, whatever. The first thing you got to understand is they're only going to show you probably 3 to 4 cars on the lot that you qualify for. So most likely what you like, what you went up there for, you're not going to get, because if that car is outside of what the bank that they deal with feels that if it's above your, say, debt to income ratio or what you're making, you're not going to get that car. So you have basically maybe 2 to 4 cars to pick from on the lot. Here's the kick. Here's the big one. The pricing on these cars is 3 to 4 times higher than Blue Book. So you might buy a car that is worth, say $4,000. You're going to pay about $12,000 for that car. Second, a lot of these cars that they get, they say they get them from auctions, which, is possibly true. Like a lot of dealers get cars from auctions, but a lot of these cars are very high mileage cars that have water damage, have been totaled and have been rebuilt. Just a slew of problems. And I look at a lot of things on JD Byrider, and so many people buy these cars, and I feel so sorry for them too. But again, you should do your research. They buy the car, and within a week, the car breaks down, or something happens to it. Transmission goes out, the car won't start, and they're paying all this money for basically a piece of shit. Is what it is. They're buying it is a piece of garbage. They're paying unbelievable amounts of money for this vehicle. And of course, all dealerships, any dealership is going to try to make money. Yeah, that's the way it works. But JD Byrider takes this to a whole new level. And there's other dealerships too like this too. I can't think of the other ones, but there's other dealerships that do this kind of thing. And I understand that's how they make money, but we're talking interest rates in the 26 APR rate. Ridiculous interest rates where you're making a $400 car payment and about 150 of it's going toward the car.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. And these people, and I feel sorry for these people, because again, they might have had a bad life experience or something that's happened in their life, and they need a car. And a lot of people, this is one of the reasons I wanted to talk on this show, is just to mention that a lot of the stuff I'm talking about, you can go on the Better Business Bureau or Consumer Reports and read that stuff. But the reason I'm mentioning this is anyone that would hear this program, if you're in that situation, do not think that a high rate predatorial company like JD Byrider and their bank that they deal with is the way to go. There are plenty of dealerships, GM dealerships, Ford, Chrysler, Honda, Toyota, and their new car dealerships. It's not like it was 25, 30 years ago where, they really didn't deal with people that had horrible credit. They did, but they didn't have many banks. The whole process has changed in the last 10, 15 years, where most of these dealerships can get people in a car even if they have miserable credit. Might not be a great car. It's not going to be a brand new car possibly, might not be a brand new car. It'll be a used car, but it'll be a much better vehicle at a much better price than you will get at a company like JD Byrider, where you're going to get a high mileage vehicle that you're going to be paying for, just forever. And it's not a quality car. Not to mention another thing, too, that I read a lot about is if you are like 2 days late on your payment, JD Byrider, well, the bank they deal with, I should say, starts calling and harassing you. It's not like a normal bank where you have a 10-day grace period. Then after the 10-day grace period, they might maybe send you one voicemail. Or not send you, I'm sorry, leave you a voicemail. And after 30 days, they might start getting more put a little bit more pressure on you. But I've heard that JD Byrider will start harassing you within a couple days and threatening to repo the car, calling people at their jobs, because they're maybe a week late or a few days late. And this is what you deal with when you go with a company like that. So that's why I'm saying maybe JD Byrider might be your last resort. I don't know. I mean, everybody's situation's different, but always try to go to a new car dealership, like I said, a GM, Ford, Chrysler, Honda, Toyota, any of those companies, Kia, because they have banks. They have tons of banks that will, you might still pay a little bit of a higher APR rate. It's not going to be, 1% APR. It's still going to be a little bit up there if your credit's not that good, but you're dealing with a much more stable, in most cases, I should say, you're dealing with a much more stable business. And
hey, Dan, are you trying to sell some fucking loans right now?
No,
I'm just curious.
I'm not.
Is this your new endeavor? This is your new endeavor? You're going to start selling fucking car loans?
Trust me, dude. Sales is the last thing I'm so happy that I'm out of sales. I never want to be in it again. I hated sales in all kind of sales. But anyway, you made me lose my fucking train of thought, you dumbass.
No,
that's what I was saying.
I was going to say, I thought it was pretty interesting. I know a couple people that unfortunately had to go through there, and I mean, everything you're saying is true. Like, not to mention the fact that, like, I mean, they paid, it was 2020 or 2021, and they're paying like 13 or 14 grand for a 2008 car with 150,000 miles on it.
Yes.
And
yes.
It's like, the car doesn't even run. Every time they get something fixed, something else goes on it, and they're still paying $200 to $300 a month. But it's like almost all of it is interest, not principal. And so it's I've not heard very many good things about that, and it sucks because I feel like they pry on people that are down and out to make. It's not about a quick buck; it's about the long buck, and it's how long can you draw money out of something or someone.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, and they're going after because there is a lot of people, especially now with the all the crap that's been happening the last few years, and with so many people that credit took a hit. Out of work, and again, they need a car, so they see these commercials, and they, it boggles my mind because this is what I said about the Car Shield thing. When people get Car Shield, and they basically cover almost nothing on the car. If people would just have done, everyone reviews and reads reviews on Amazon when they buy a product. I mean, everybody reads a freaking review, but when it comes to buying something, like a car from a dealership or buying a product like Car Shield, I feel like, I'm sure a lot of people do read the reviews, but I also feel like a lot of people just don't think about reading reviews on things like that, because if they did, they would certainly, I would hope at least, think twice about buying the product after reading so many bad reviews.
Right.
Car Shield's a great example. I mean, and I've even read, I still keep up reading those reviews because I just find it so fascinating. I've even seen people actually write on there saying, I read all the bad reviews, but I decided to take a chance and buy Car Shield's coverage. And guess what they're doing? They're writing and they're complaining on the site because Car Shield denied their claim. Even though they read all the bad reviews, they decided to take a chance on it. It is absolutely beyond my comprehension. I can't even understand how somebody would do that. But it's just, that's what I just like to give people that, or not like to give people, but I like to help people look into this and say, look, just take, that might be your last resort, but please make it your last resort, because there's definitely better options out there than buying. And you just said it. I mean, this just solidified what I was just talking about. You said you had two friends that, bought pieces of shit from them, and they're not running, and, they are making these ridiculous car payments for old vehicles with all this mileage on them.
Yeah. Well, they'll offer you 10 years financing, and it'll be on a $10,000 car, but you end up paying, $200 a month, when realistically, yeah, like I said, $50 is going to the car, and then the other 150 is going to them, and
Right.
yeah, and the stuff doesn't work. So
It's predatory. It's a predatory type kind of, to me, that's what it feels like. Seems like, I mean, obviously you're the one that goes there, and, the person is the one that's making the choice to go there to do that. But once you sit down and they start telling you, and then the person's desperate. So then all of a sudden, not only did they go there maybe wanting to look at a little bit nicer car, they're then being told, when you can't get this car, here's the 4 choices you have. You have to pick one of these vehicles. What? Now the person's desperate. They're like, well, I need a car. And then they're getting into a vehicle that they probably don't even want. That wasn't what they went up there for.
These cars and I don't know how much research you did on this, but like, what are these cars before they get to JD? Like, are they former rental cars, or are they salvage titles that were ended up being, quote, fixed? Like, how does a car end up there versus like, a certified used dealer?
Yeah, well, I can only go by, I've not researched that, and I don't want to say anything that's completely wrong. I've only going by what I've read in some reviews and things like that. First off, a lot of them are former rental cars. That's one thing for sure. I've heard a lot of them that did have water damage. So even though that stuff is supposed to be disclosed on the title and everything, I don't know if they can fudge something on that. If it was an insurance, if it was a salvage vehicle, if it wasn't a flood, for example. They get a lot of these cars. I think a lot of these cars they get to are they're at the wholesale auction. So these are the cars that were turned down by the dealership. So when you trade in your car, at least it was this way. I don't know how it is now, because everything is so fucked up right now with all these dealers want used cars right now. But the way it used to be, you go to the dealership, you have a car that has over 100,000 miles on it. Unless it's a upper level luxury vehicle or something exotic, they're going to turn that thing. If it's say it's a Chevy Impala with 130,000 miles on it, the dealership wants nothing to do with that car. They take it in on trade, and they take it to the wholesale lot. The wholesale lot comes and picks it up, and they wholesale the car off. I think that's where a lot of these vehicles come from, is the turn downs by dealerships, by actual legit dealerships. JD Byrider gets them for dirt cheap, and then they fix them up. They throw a paint job on it. They try to fix whatever remedy. They basically fix what absolutely needs to be fixed in the car. From things I've read, again, I don't know this personally, but things I've read, they don't put new brakes on if they don't need them. They don't, they do an oil change. If the headlight's burned out, they'll put a headlight on it. A headlight in it. They just do what they have to do to get the car presentable enough to sell. And that's, again, I don't have inside information. I'm just going by what I've read online from what people have said.
Yeah, me too. I mean, most of the stuff that I'm seeing is all secondhand. But
right.
Nobody's ever said, hey, I would love to go back there. So
right.
I don't know, but maybe there are people that have had good experiences, and
sure,
their model worked for them and it got them out of a tough jam. So I mean, they're still in business. So that's the other thing too to look at, is that for as much as they might be doing bad, like, they've also remained in business for this many years. So
True. So right, exactly. With any company, I'm sure there's people that have been very happy with. I have read reviews of people that said, "Look, nobody helped me out. They got me in my first car, and I'm grateful for that, and that's fine, and that's great. If you've had a great experience with them, that's awesome. But just it's just like, do your research. Just do your research. Don't give up on the other dealerships, because they can help you. They've got tons and tons of finance companies that are out there to help people with, no credit, bad credit. I do sound like a salesman, don't I, Buddha?
You do.
I guess it's because I was a salesman for so many years.
Well, thank you, Dan. JD Byrider and the Car Quest. I also saw an article today that Carvana might be downsizing in Cleveland. Did you see that?
Yeah, they laid off about I think they laid off 3,000 people. Well, I think that was countrywide, but
yeah, I don't know of anybody that's purchased a car through them. Like, I don't know. A car's just something I wouldn't want to buy sight unseen.
Yeah, no, especially out of a freaking vending machine like that, where they have that thing that sticks up and you can. It looks like a vending machine. The car comes down.
Yeah, right.
The hell with that.
All right. Well, thanks, Dan, for all that.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So on the line here, we have returning from the great Northwest, Mr. Lawrence of The Simpson. Larry, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
All right. Welcome back. It is Thursday evening where you are. Well, probably late afternoon, would you say? What, probably 5:45 or so?
Yeah. It's 5:45 out here in Pacific time.
Yeah.
Say something? Oh, okay.
You get in
that
trouble
was
there?
Pam. No, that was Pam.
So,
She was listening to her headphones and thought I might have been talking to her.
right on. No, so how was your week? Anything interesting happened? Did you come across any new information that shocked you to your core?
Oh, not really. I just been going to work and coming home.
Yeah. You see any new videos or anything that sparked your interest?
Oh, yeah. A few of them about the old, what was it? House Assassinations Committee or something. I think it was the last one they had. And then also seen some of the older, I think that was Assassinations Record Review Board.
Yeah? You want to get into it?
It's just basically the same stuff. They're pushing their standard lone nutter theory.
Yeah.
I
saw something earlier today, and I don't know, Buddha, if that was you that posted it, but is the government spending $40 billion on something?
Yeah, it's over to fucking Ukraine.
Oh, so they sent $40 billion over there. Yeah, because the guy that killed Bin Laden, was it Robert O'Neill? He had posted something like, how much baby formula could $40 billion buy? And then I was like, well, where did we send $40 billion? And now that makes sense. So, is it $40 billion in assets and infrastructure, like weapons, or is it just straight $40 billion cash?
40 billion cash and 10% to the big guy.
Oh, go figure. All right. Well, they're yeah.
So the best way to get something done, if you hold near and dear to you that you like to be able to.
Yeah, there you go. Larry, you're not a Biden fan, are you? No? Larry, I think you muted yourself again.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
No, I never was.
Yeah. All right, so we had been talking last week, and you had mentioned a bunch of crazy stuff about Antarctica, and so let's go back to the beginning and you and your research into Antarctica. What was the first thing that drew you to it?
I started watching these videos about how the Nazis had their base there, and then after World War II, it's actually documented now, but after World War II, the top tiers of the Nazis escaped to Antarctica and Argentina.
I know Argentina was one. I never heard the Antarctica thing, and the Argentina thing was also written into fiction as well. They did a piece in the one X-Men movie about the scientist that worked on Magneto. He was hunting him down in Argentina. I thought was pretty interesting. But there was also the theory that Hitler was still alive and well in Argentina after the fact. But was there any top names that made it down to Antarctica that you had found?
Not really. Possibly, what was his name? Hans Kammler.
Okay.
General Hans Kammler. He was like the special weapons guy, and he ended up having control over all of that by the end of the war. And see, they always say that the Nazis had help from extraterrestrials. I don't really subscribe to that theory so much, I think they got.
Why don't you believe so?
I think they got a hold of Tesla's patents.
Okay, and then just exploited them to the fullest of their ability.
Yeah, and started developing them.
Yeah.
One day a light bulb just went off in my head, and all the stuff I've read and watched, just kind of put this timeline together. Who was the most famous patent clerk in history?
Well, Einstein.
Exactly.
Right.
Where was Einstein from?
Germany.
Germany.
Right.
You know? And I just kind of started putting all this stuff together, and I'm just kind of sitting there thinking, oh my God, they had Tesla's patents.
Von Braun, he was from Germany too.
Yeah, yeah. He got into NASA, which I call the Nazi Assholes Scientists Association.
What prompts you to do that?
Well, that's how it was founded. Werner von Braun had the same boss at NASA that he had in Nazi Germany.
That's true. Didn't Russia and I don't want to say United States kind of split up those people? Not like it wasn't like a kickball tournament out on the playground where they picked teams, but it was pretty much like some guys went over to Russia, some guys went over to the U.S., and that's kind of how it went.
Well, they basically said, all right, if you German guys don't want to die, you got to come over to America and work for us. And they all went, all right, that sounds like a pretty solid deal.
Right.
Well, a lot of the good ones they say actually went to Russia too.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything about, was it a 50-50 split? Did America get 3/4 and Russia only got 25%? But they're supposed to win both ways, I guess.
Right.
But see another. Have you ever heard of Joseph P. Farrell?
I have not, Buddha.
The name sounds familiar, but I couldn't tell you the specifics.
Well, he's got some good books too, and but to get out of Germany, they had what they called rat lines. You could get on and get out through Spain, or you could get out through the Vatican even too. They was helping them get to South America.
So what you're saying is that the Vatican were smuggling Nazis out of Germany and into other territories
South
like
America.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah,
I've never heard that theory.
Maybe even Antarctica too.
Really?
And I can't remember for sure. I want to say there was 100 German submarines that were unaccounted for after the war.
Well, that's interesting too. Like, I mean, how much of that stuff is, we lost a bunch of stuff to Afghanistan and the Taliban, but like after the war, like how much of that stuff from Russia and Germany that ended up, just in the random people's hands?
Yeah, they said, there's no accounting for them. They wasn't sunk or anything, And then, have you heard of the German sub U-234?
No.
That one was supposed to have surrendered in Portsmouth. It's like New Hampshire or Maine, or right on the border there, the big naval station.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
They were supposed to have came in there. America tested did the Trinity test in July. Well, actually July 16th on my birthday. But they did that Trinity test. Well, they wasn't supposed to even be scheduled to have enough fissionable material to do another bomb until November of 1945.
So how did they come up with it?
U-234. That was German sub that was on its way from Germany to Japan.
Oh, and it was a nuclear sub, so they were able to poach the materials to do another bomb through the sub? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, it wasn't a nuclear sub. It was a conventional German submarine, but they were hauling U-235 in gold cylinders.
Huh.
And instead of going to Japan, it ended up at Portsmouth, and then went to Oak Ridge and to Hanford out here, and got converted into plutonium and
Yeah, I'm seeing right here. It says German submarine U-234. This is off of Wikipedia. It says German submarine U-234 was a XB U-boat of Nazi Germany's Kriegsmarine during World War II. She was commanded by I'm not even going to go there.
I can't remember the guy's name.
Johann Henrik Feller.
Yep.
Her first and only mission was into enemy or contested territory in the attempted delivery of uranium oxide and German advanced weapons technology to the Empire of Japan. So at this point, Germany was pretty defunct, and so they were trying to get or help Japan with the edge, and it seems like it failed.
Yeah.
So, So where does this lead back to Antarctica? So
But-
you had mentioned that you'd gotten into Antarctica because of the Nazi connection. What else sparked your interest there?
That Admiral Byrd, he'd been there, I want to say in 1935 and maybe in 38. He'd been there once or twice before World War II, you know.
Yeah.
And then he actually, on the way back from Antarctica, after they got their asses kicked, he did a interview with a Chilean journalist and said they were flying discs. They lost like a ship, supposed to lost some men, and they lost like 21 or 23 aircraft. They got tore up pretty good.
Yeah, I'm looking here. It says...
Did you say flying discs, Larry?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is the UFO connection?
Later, yeah. See, they've taken the video off of YouTube, but in 1906, Nikola Tesla applied for and was granted a U.S. patent for what he called a flying saucer. Well, I think Einstein got a hold of that patent with the other things. See, when you research World War II, I noticed something. The Nazis didn't start coming out with all their wonder weapons until after January of 1943, when Tesla was dead.
What year did he die in 43 or 42?
Yeah. He was supposed to die like the night of the 6th to the 7th of 1943.
Gotcha.
And I've also kind of come to believe that he was murdered.
Yeah, I mean,
bed.
He was pretty discredited. I mean, they said he was poor and penniless, feeding birds in Central Park.
Well, yeah. See, another thing they try to brainwash us with was Tesla was a nut. You know, he wasn't a nut. He was a genius. You've heard of free energy.
Sure, of course.
Do you know how the alternator works on your car?
I mean, not down to the bare science. Buddha probably knows better than I do.
Well, there's a magnetic field around the Earth, right? Think of that being the field in the alternator. The Earth is spinning inside that magnetic field. Think of that as the armature, the part that spins inside your alternator. There's your free energy right there, dude.
Yeah, and it's all, they were able to, they didn't need power lines. They could do it through the air.
Yeah, they say Tesla could stick a metal rod in the ground with a light bulb on it, and the light bulb would light up.
Yeah. You can also do that with fluorescent lights near some radio towers too, can't you?
Yeah. Tesla also invented fluorescent lighting.
That was a Tesla?
Mm-hmm. The spark plugs in your car, invented by Tesla.
I'm looking that up. I want to make sure that that's correct. Who invented them?
Back in the old days, they called them igniters instead of spark plugs.
Gotcha. It says Edmund Germer's the development of the fluorescent lamp and the high-pressure memory mercury lamp increased the efficiency of lighting devices, allowing more economical lighting while producing less than incandescent light.
Yeah, but does it say he improved on someone else's patent?
No, it says Edmund Germer invented the fluorescent lamp.
Because, see, remember the radio? For 70 or 80 years, the credit for that went to Marconi.
Right,
And
I know
nowadays, they finally officially gave Tesla credit for inventing the radio signal, you know.
Interesting.
So, you know, they might not show it in the book yet, but someday they'll come out with it.
All right, so going back to
Sorry.
Richard Byrd. So was there any actual sightings of UFOs on Antarctica? I know you're saying that he reported on them.
They say there was.
Anybody else in his crew saying that? Like, what are some of the stories that you've heard?
I believe there was. They were flying discs, and they shot up the ships, and they shot up the aircraft.
Right.
And there's supposed to have been some of them that came out of the water, too. I've only heard one story about that.
Gotcha. Have you ever heard the Phil Schneider story?
Oh, possibly. Tell me a little bit.
He was a government contractor that worked in Dulce, and basically, he had gotten into a firefight with alien down in the underground bunker of Dulce.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then as soon as he started talking about it in the early 90s, he ended up dead. Supposedly he had killed himself, but I mean, I'm not buying it. A lot of people said a lot of people had said that he would have not killed himself. It wasn't in his nature. But I was wondering.
A lot of them were like that.
Right.
But see, I think I mentioned this last week. There's a guy named Harry Cooper. He has a website, sharkhunters.com. He's had all the old German submarine captains, that survived. They was all members. Ronald Reagan was a member. But he was really into researching all these submarines and where they ended up and where they went and everything, But there was quite a few that surrendered, like a month or two after the war was already over. They pop up in Argentina,
No.
And but this Harry Cooper, he's documented that Hitler went to South America, and what was the name of that place?
Argentina.
Bariloche. Yeah, but it's in the mountains. Bariloche is the name of the place. And they went to this place, and this guy they talked to was supposed to have been the son of the groundskeeper back when Hitler was there. And he said this guy started goose-stepping around and put his finger under his nose like Hitler's mustache and started telling him, "I know who lived here. I know who lived here." And I was like, whoa. He was pretty convincing, And I guess in Argentina they have a different dialect of Spanish than, the rest of the Spanish-speaking countries. And but he said he can't speak Spanish, but he can speak German. And he said if you can speak German, you can survive in Argentina.
I've never heard that. Now, like I said, I've heard the theories that he did live in in Argentina after the war.
Yeah.
But who was the person that they found? Who was the person that the Russians found then? That was supposedly Hitler.
Oh God, I can't remember. It was years ago, but they're supposed to have did DNA tests, and the skull was supposed to have been from a female.
Yeah, no, I've heard that too. But also, that the skull. I'm sorry, I'm just getting a little bit of myself on a delay from you, and your microphone. But no, I was going to say I've also heard that there is the skull fragments that were kept, that were supposedly Hitler, are in the possession of the Russian government, and that those might not be the actual pieces of the skull. Dan, have you ever heard any of that kind of stuff?
I have not. I'm very unfamiliar with this story actually altogether. That's the reason I've been kind of quiet, just listening to what you guys have been talking about. I don't know too much about it.
How about you, Buddha? Did you ever hear any of this stuff about the Hitler not being killed and actually escaping Argentina?
I didn't hear Argentina. I thought it was like Colombia. And then there's the other one of him living in like Glacier Park in the U.S.
I didn't hear that one. You know what? I've heard something very faint on that. I never dug too far into that. But what did you...
Well, hang on. Here's one right here. It's... let me see. The CIA was told about a man claiming to be Adolf Hitler who lived in Colombia among a community of ex-Nazis during the 50s, and there was declassified documents that revealed this. Agents did not take the claim made by the former SS soldier seriously. However, the station chief in Caracas did forward the claims to superiors, complete with a photo. And the file shows a man named Philip Citroen approach agents in 1954 to say he had met a man claiming to be Hitler living in the town of Tunja, north of Bogota. And then by the time agents were actually able to get there, let's see, he had apparently fled to Argentina. And evidently it was a man named Adolf Schudelmeyer, and the CIA was clearly skeptical of the claims and recommended the matter be dropped. The claims have resurfaced now as a Colombian journalist, Jose Cardenas, tweeted the files from the CIA archive that were declassified in the 90s. So there you go. It does hit on Argentina too. So everybody was right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Let's see.
like-
It shows a photograph of himself sitting next to the SS man that bears a strong resemblance to the Nazi dictator. God damn, these pictures are fucking stunning. How close they are.
I'm trying to see which ones. Where are you at, so I can try to bring them up.
This one's from the Daily Mail.
And what did you search? So Daily Mail.
Just type in CIA Hitler alive in Colombia.
How the CIA found Hitler alive in Colombia in 1954. Is that the
Yep,
one?
that's the one. And then scroll like halfway down the page.
Yeah.
And it says the former Nazis even called the man the Fuhrer, offered him Nazi salutes, and afforded him stormtroopers adulation.
You talking about
And
this
then-
one? I'm trying to get further down the page. It looks like a the picture kind of looks like it's like been Xeroxed a bunch.
Oh, the black and white one?
Yeah.
Scroll down further.
Okay.
I see it.
Is it the
Yeah,
guy?
there's definitely a resemblance.
The left and the right. It says, well, the picture of Hitler on the right, and then this other guy in black and white on the left. They're saying, is that?
I'm guessing that's what it's. I'm guessing that's what it says.
Yeah.
Provided agents with a photograph purporting to show Citroen with Hitler, who was named on the back of the image as Adolf Schudelmeyer.
Yeah, the other thing that's weird about this too is like a lot of people are like shocked that somebody like Hitler would have had a body double. Like, what's so shocking about that? Like,
Oh, I guarantee he had multiple.
right. Larry, you know anything about any of the body doubles?
I don't know how many there was, but they say he had body doubles. And then also Martin Bormann was supposed to have had some body doubles too.
Huh.
And that's another big mystery, what happened to Martin Bormann. And the everything that I read and watched, all the Nazi treasure, well, a lot of it, they took and invested in 750 international corporations around the world.
Interesting. Have you kind of off subject here, but have any of you guys watched that that one Russian guy talk about, and it was in the 80s, or I forget if it was in the 80s or whatnot, but basically how the plan was to dismantle the U.S. democracy by like influencing culture through the media, and how we are pretty close to like just pretty much destroying democracy as we know it. And like all these things are now starting to come to fruition. Have either of you guys heard that story?
Yeah, it's like a one-on-one interview, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I'm trying to bring up.
Are you talking about the old KGB dude? That one?
Yes.
I don't remember what the fuck his name was, but yeah, I have seen that.
Yeah. Bob says just watching Glorious Bastards. It's all on there. Well, yeah, I mean, there was the plot to kill Hitler in that movie, and it ended up being a body double. Yuri Bezmenov's Warning to America, basically. This is a 13-minute clip. I'm going to play a little bit of this because I think it's kind of interesting.
We spoke several times.
You guys mind?
Ideological subversion. That is a phrase that
Go ahead.
some Americans fully understand. When the Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. There is nothing to do with espionage. I know that espionage intelligence gathering looks more romantic. It sells more deodorants through the advertising, probably. That's why your Hollywood producers are so crazy about James Bond type of thrillers. But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy.
Okay, so, and I'm going to stop it right here for just a second, but like, he's talking about ways to destroy, not just America, but just democracy as a whole, and demoralization is the first stage of it. It's hard to think, like, at what point do you guys think that maybe that this was done? Like, do you think it was in the 80s, or do you think it was in the 90s with our generation, or is it more happening now than ever? I don't know.
What exactly are you specifically asking about?
So he's saying the demoralization. To demoralize a society, you need at least one generation span to really start the demoralization process. Do you think it was our generation, meaning like the millennial generation, or do you think it was before that with like Dan's Gen Z? Are you Gen X, Dan? I'm sorry.
I'm Gen X.
Yeah. So I mean, do you think it was Gen X or millennial? Like, it's hard to say because I feel like
I think we could.
The sewer pipe just seems like it keeps getting worse and worse, and so. But I feel like we're already past a one generation point. Like, where does it start? Where does it start? At least in your guys' opinion.
I guess in my opinion, at least, it would probably would be a start with my generation and just continuing on into your guys' generation, and because I'll tell you, I mean, I think technology. I've said it tons of times. I mean, technology is the basis now. Everybody has a smartphone. Everyone goes on the internet. Everyone spends, not everyone, but most people spend enormous amounts of time reading stuff on the internet. People can be fed in anything they want. People believe what they want, and I think the internet has absolutely, completely turned everybody's thought processes on its side. I think everyone goes on to try to get facts on I don't care what it is. It could be me trying to get facts on a car, and stuff like that. But that's a very mild version of it. But I mean, in a more huge scope, government activities and disease and this and that and the other thing. If you could be fed everyone's fed the propaganda through what they read online. It's just the way it is. All of us do it. All of us get it. And I think it pretty much started with probably my generation. Larry, I don't know if I think you're probably Gen X too, right?
I'm not sure. I was born in '63.
Oh, okay. So
he's a boomer.
Yeah, you're actually 1 year before me, or not before me, but 1 year before Gen X. But yeah, but our generation, yeah, I mean, basically we'll still consider you close to Gen X, Larry. But our generation, I think, my generation, was the one that it's kind of started with, because we know technology, we know how to use it. I think it probably started even long before our generation, but in subtle amounts, in subtle ways, maybe through magazines, through the news. You didn't have the internet back then, but it was still probably started in that way. But I think it got definitely catapulted with, increased definitely with the technology and our generations. If I made any sense what the hell I just said.
They do it a little bit at a time.
Right. Right.
What's happened during my... I wish I'd have stole this book or written down the title and the name of the author, but this book was about liberalism, how they think, and their core philosophies, and that was one of the things in the book was that if you can get one generation to grow up a certain way, the next generation is going to grow up believing that is normal.
Right, because they teach it to their kids and things
yeah.
like that.
Well, no, and that's what I'm saying. Like, at what point do you really think that this, if demoralization has been in effect, when do you think it started? Buddha, what about you?
I think it just started a super long time ago, but I don't think it was
I don't think it's stopped. I feel like it's just the volume is being increased.
Yeah, it was started a very long time ago to see how far they can push it each time, but I don't think it was done for the intent of, like, maybe the original. Well, I guess to me the original intent would really just to be to decouple society and make them make infighting a thing so that they never actually turn to the problem, which, not to sound like a fucking beating a dead horse, is government. Government and bankers that are literally controlling the world. And I think, like, to destroy a generation, like you're seeing it right now, it's kind of like what we talked about last week with, like, the people going to war for something that happened before they were alive and just being taught this is the way it needs to be because it always was, when it was literally happening before they were alive. You just don't question it. It's the same way, like, when you get older, or even for me, like when I got older and I started going, when you're taught in school and you're like, World War II absolutely needed to happen, or World War I absolutely needed to happen, or we absolutely needed income tax, like we absolutely should have entered Vietnam, like stuff like that. You believe that because you're taught to believe that. But as you get older, and if you actually question shit on your own, that's the people that they don't want. So I don't know if I'm getting a little off topic, but kind of to keep that infighting, to have all the, for lack of a better term, the NPCs that just go around and repeat everything that the fucking media tells them, they're the ones that are just going to continuously fight because they don't want to actually look into anything. So by essentially one generation taking it a step further with, like, the information age being a blessing and a curse, a blessing because many more people actually being able to get information out and talk to it, or talk about it and make it accessible. The curse side of it is that every person with access to the internet has a fucking opinion and a voice.
Right.
So it's just polarizing everyone so much more than, like, maybe your community would have been were it not for the internet.
Interesting.
I think it really does have a much more sinister, maybe from the beginning, that wasn't really talked about, because as far as, like, a lot of fucked up shit going on back then, even to now, like, there was a lot of people, even, like, for what you would consider a modern society, like in the early or mid 1900s, that were doing things like normalizing pedophilia and trying to make that like a mainstream thing. And you would have, like, published fucking scientists that would come out and do studies and talk about how it's normal, or do, like, quote unquote, like, social experiments, that I think those people pushing down those ideals have then found their way into, like, some type of, for lack of a better term, government indoctrination camp, which is basically what you would call liberal college or public education. Like, you have teachers that are just like, oh yeah, all this stuff is fine because scientists were studying this 50 years ago. Like, there's a guy I actually just posted about him yesterday, John Money, that was, like, pretty much trying to normalize pedophilia, and he did like these fucking weird, like, reassignment surgeries on, like, children, and he was, like, basically forcing children to, like, have sex with each other. It was really fucking weird. And I think, like, the shit that you see now with even, and I know I'm going way off topic here, but I think it all kind of stems together, is you see, like, all the, whatever side of the fence you are on about it, all of the polarizing topics in, like, all of the trans community stuff, or, like, some type of, for lack of a better term, things that aren't orthodox, to the norm. So you have the one side of it that are all like God-fearing Christians, this is the way it needs to be. Then you have the normal people that I would say are literally like maybe not religious, but they just don't fucking care. And then you have the other side of the spectrum, which are everyone is literally Hitler. You're all fascist because you don't believe that make-believe stuff is happening, blah, 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 all that stupid shit. But the point that I'm making is this stuff is enforced by fucking college professors and other fucking idiots with a voice on the internet. And then you have things coming out like minor attracted individuals, like is a sexual preference. Like, I think, and like I said, I know I'm getting way off topic here, but things like that were put in motion 100 years ago that are little by little being forced through each generation by every generation coming and saying, oh, this is fine because the book said so, or this is fine because my professor said so. Like Natalie's one friend she has a kid and he's like, I think he's like 10 or something. And she was saying that her kid's school is already teaching them that corona came from a bat. Like it is because it always has been, and it is because doctor said so. I don't know. I know I went off on a fucking tangent. I hope I didn't get too far out there.
All right. Well, let's go back to the
You're right. You're right.
Exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place and who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years. Actually, it's overfulfilled because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. So basically America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, it doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation, what matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized." This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. He will go to Moscow to kiss the bottoms of new generation of Soviet assassins. Never mind. He will create false illusions that the situation is under control. Situation is not under control.
Yeah, it sounds like we're pretty much at the normalization part. Would you agree?
What year was that, John? That interview?
This was about 30 years ago, so at the end of the 80s.
Okay.
Would anyone agree, disagree?
Oh,
I think everything is being normalized.
Yeah, I'd agree, based on that.
Shocking to hear someone talk about this 30 years ago, and it just feels like it's all too real. That or we're just boring the pants off of somebody. I don't know.
In the early 70s, everything that guy was saying is the same things that my grandfather and my 4th grade teacher were saying.
Yeah.
And, well, see, in the 4th grade, I was what they call a voracious reader. And they started throwing me all these big books and stuff, like, you know, a couple of Michael Crichton books. And one of these books was about liberalism, the core liberal philosophies and how they think and everything, you know. And during my lifetime, everything that book has said has happened. And, you know, my dad and my stepmom, all I heard from them was I had a bad attitude because I was trying to tell them this, you know. And they just thought I was so unstable and mentally defective and I needed antidepressants, you know.
And that happens to a lot of kids, too. It's crazy to think. But yeah, I feel like we're in the normalization part of it. I mean, everything is just, I feel like the color of life is being stripped out and everything's becoming more dull, and it has a. They're trying to make it seem like it's colorful, but it's not. I feel like we're just shifting right into dull and gray, where everything is a copy of a copy and everything is the same. If that makes any sense, I don't know. Does anyone agree?
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it's
roll.
all-
Yeah,
Go ahead, Dan.
go ahead, Larry.
It's all generic. It's just all
Yeah.
generic, you know.
So I was going to say, yeah, a good example. This is a little bit off subject, but just to kind of go about what you were just talking about, John, how colorful things are no longer colorful. There's no fun. I mean, you just go back. You can look at Google Street View, which I love looking at. I love looking at how things change. And I got into this subject with a friend a couple weeks ago about how. Like restaurants, for example, and this is, obviously architectural, but like how they've changed. Like you take a look at McDonald's, like 10, 15 years ago, McDonald's were they weren't flashy looking, but they just were more fun looking. They were more inviting looking. Same thing with Dairy Queens or Burger Kings. They just had that retro vintage look to them, but they were more inviting. They looked more, I guess that's the best way to describe it. Well, McDonald's is a great example. You look at the way those restaurants look now, they are all carbon copies of each other, and they all look like, it doesn't look like you're walking into a fun restaurant to, sit down and have a, dinner with friends and family, or a little fast food dinner, I guess. It just looks like a very industrial looking building, because even buildings don't look good anymore. Everything is just less fun, less colorful, like you said, John. Cars, of course, cars are my thing. Same thing with cars. I mean, everything is a freaking SUV driving down the street. They don't have any shapes anymore. They all look the same.
That was going back to Gavin saying that all you see are cough drops driving down the street.
Right. Yeah, I didn't see that comment, but yeah, that's exactly right. They look exactly the same. You can't tell if you see 5 white SUVs driving down the street, literally, unless you know cars really well. If they go by fast enough, you have no idea if you're looking at a Honda, a Chevy, a Subaru. And that's just, and again, with, like I said, with the way buildings look and that, there's something, even in just the last 10 years, it's gotten worse. I mean, even 10 years ago, I think things were a little bit better. They weren't perfect by any way, shape, or form, but they at least it still felt a little bit more normal. But yeah, I think that's my opinion. I think a lot of stuff has changed just in the last 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
When it comes to that.
Boo, do you think we're in the normalization period? Or do you think it's already, you made the comment earlier that everything is being normalized, but I mean, as far as the part of the process, do you think that we're into it, or are we past it, or are we not hit it yet?
I think the media wants you to believe that everything is being normalized, but I think if you talk to normal people, it's not.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
But I think the people that are controlling the country are leading you to believe it's all normalized, which allows them to make decisions that would potentially go with what they consider normal, but it's really not.
Yeah.
I also think it depends on the demographic, like where you go.
Yeah. No, and that's a good point too, is that I think there's little pockets of not only just this country, but places throughout the world where this stuff maybe not has had such a hard impact on and reshaped culture and society, but scary and interesting stuff to think about all at the same time.
That's actually a great point Buddha just made, because yeah, you go down I have family that live out in southern Ohio, and they live in little towns, and these towns literally, and there's millions of towns like that across the United States, but like he said, the demographic does make a difference, because in a lot of these towns, things are still exactly the same as they were 50 years ago. Same little businesses, mom and pop shops, same neighbors that have lived in this, the same houses all these decades, and that I think that makes a big difference too. There's from us living in the big city, we see a lot of things are constantly changing. The progression thing, it's progressive society, everything's constantly changing, but that's not the way it is in small town America, where there's maybe 3,000 population of 3,000. So I think that definitely makes a difference too, depending on who you would ask on that, like Buddha said.
Right. Interesting. Well, Larry, do you have anything else you want to touch on before we let you off for the night?
I don't know.
Putting you on the spot there.
I guess I'm good. You guys were talking about taking a break for the summer. When were you thinking about coming back?
So I think the plan is, and that's funny. I was gonna. Well, let me put it on you. So what are you gonna do on Thursday nights that we're taking the summer off?
Probably just watch YouTube videos and be lazy and go to bed and get up and go to work Friday.
Yeah, same shit, different pile, I guess, huh?
Yep.
But yeah, so the plan is we're going to take between now and probably, I would say, just September is a little too early in my opinion to start. Like, I want to keep it, and I think everyone else is in alignment or agreement that we go back right around the start of like the middle of fall, like the beginning of October, at least around this area in Ohio. Like, by that point, it's not the temperature's not peaking at like over 70 degrees every single day. It gets a little darker earlier, a little cooler, and even just that time of year when like it gives us enough time to build up an idea and another set of content and potentially a shift in iteration. And so this the show is always kind of like ever evolving and changing, and so we've done everything from like a raw, like produced approach to a super produced approach to back to like a very, very raw format. So I think so the idea of the summer is to kind of just see what we like, what we don't like, and kind of give another iteration. And I think that's the fun part about it is seeing what you can change and keep it fun and interesting at the same time. So that was a pretty long-winded answer, but I guess in the short answer is probably the beginning of October we'll be coming back when fall is just starting to kick in. So
I was just wondering. I had a couple people ask me, and I'm like, I have no idea.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you spreading the word. I think I speak for everyone else here. It's pretty cool, 4 to 5 years later to still be in contact, and now you're doing it every now and then, and I think it'd be fun to have you on every now and then. For me personally, I like the idea of bringing in people every now and then that might have some insight on something that neither of us know anything about, and kind of see where the conversation goes. There's no real format to it, but at the end of the day, we're just kind of letting the conversation take the wheel and just get on and go for the ride.
Right on. So, on your summer breaks, do you guys watch YouTube or anything, or?
Yeah, I don't know. So, Dan, what have you been watching?
I watch a lot of car reviews. I told you I watch a lot of those urban explorers that go into like abandoned houses and hotels and things like that. And then just, obviously music. I have that playing all the time, but really not too much. I don't get too much into YouTube, just car reviews mostly.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time outdoors in the summer as much as you possibly can.
I do. Yeah. I'm hardly inside in the summer. Yeah, unless I have to work, that's the only time I'm inside the house.
Yeah. What about you, Buddha? What have you been listening to, or what do you plan on watching?
I don't know. It just kind of depends. I do a lot of audiobook stuff and a lot of
you were doing a lot of creepypasta for a while too.
I was, yeah. I listened to a lot of like the serial killer type stuff, but I listened to like a lot of I don't know, man. It comes and goes. Like sometimes I'll be like real hell bent on just like audiobooks, like full fiction stuff, and then other times I'll listen to like nonfiction, and then other times it's like podcasts. Really, just like I like listening to interesting people talk. So doesn't really matter what the topic is. If I find it interesting, I'll just listen to it. So I don't really steer only into one thing.
What's been tickling your fancy lately?
I had to take a break from a lot of the podcast stuff. I was getting a little just overwhelmed. Yeah. So I listened to it's actually a series on Audible called We're Alive, and it's like a full dramatization, and it's like a 4-part series of
cool,
just like another zombie apocalypse thing, but it was done really well. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I was listening to a lot of the old Unsolved Mysteries while I was at work, and so I pay for YouTube Premium so I can stream the content without having my screen on and just listen to it. And so the entire series with Robert Stack is on YouTube, and so I was listening to a lot of that stuff, and it inspired me to like find things to bring here. It's also interesting to see things progress, like, you know, in 1987, something not solved, but with technology, and 20 years later, some of these cases are now closed because of technology and the resources that are available now. But yeah, I too agree with you. Like, I was getting just the amount of content that's being created. And that's the other thing right now, is that what we are doing is no different than a whole lot of other people. And so, in some ways I feel like we start to blend in, and I haven't really found a whole lot of other shows that will kind of talk about this subject matter in the way that we do. But I also haven't been looking because I'm trying to do it. So I think also trying to, you know, maybe reinvent the wheel just a little bit. Not go overboard. We try to keep it small because it's hard enough to get people together, you know, once a week for an hour or two remotely. And we used to get together every other week for, you know, the better part of a Sunday. And then I would take the wheel, you know, for the rest of the week, editing and putting it together. So I'm not sure what but Dan shared some ideas and I've shared some of mine, and we'll see what happens. Let me ask you, Larry, do you prefer the live stuff, or do you prefer the more edited, produced content?
This live stuff seems all right. I, never had no experience. I went on with Larry Nichols a couple times a few years ago, but this is basically the only format I've done. I haven't, done anything like pre-recorded or anything.
Do you prefer listening to stuff live, or do you prefer to watch it back?
Like our old stuff that we used to do.
Actually, last week's, after we got done, I went back and listened to it. And then I could check out the chat and see what my friends were saying,
Yeah. But do you prefer... I guess the question is, do you prefer produce short and sweet content, or do you prefer long format, just banter like we've been doing the last year and a half?
Kind of a little of both.
Yeah.
Like the stories you guys did at the start of this show was good,
Cool.
Yeah, like those shows we used to do, Larry, like the ones like 3 years ago when, there'd be photos being put up, and like the JFK video, or like the ones where we would sit around the table. Did you like any of those at all, or what did you think of those formats?
Yeah, I liked them both ways.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're trying to figure
all
out.
Good.
Like I said, it's so hard to stand out, and I mean, when I first started getting into like photo and video 10, 15 years ago, I mean, nobody had this stuff on the computer. Like, it was expensive to get into this, and now anybody with a couple $100 can make, top of the line shit. 10 years, like something top of the line 10 years ago is very easily attainable today with a couple $100. So, but yeah, so I don't know, but yeah. With that, Larry, I'm gonna cut you off here, and then I'm gonna let Dan and I and Buddha sign off for you. But thanks again for coming on tonight, and we'll be in touch over the summer.
Yeah, keep in touch. Email me, or I think you got my number, don't you?
No, but send it over in an email so we can text, and then also, if you have any ideas for the fall or whatnot, please send them over our way.
Did you want to research anything over the summer? Or?
Yeah, we can do that. We can get together and talk.
Okay. Okay. I was just gonna say, if you got a pen and pencil, I can write you down some books, and then they're also on videos on YouTube.
Yeah, send them over via email.
Okie doke.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks again, Larry. We'll talk soon.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on, guys, and have a good summer.
Yep. Thanks, Larry.
You
too. Thank you.
All right, man.
Later. There he goes. That's Larry. Lawrence of the Simpson. What a guy. Cool. Well, I think it's about time we wrap it up for tonight. We've been going for almost 2 hours. We've taken some breaks before in the past, but nothing as long as this. I think the only thing that I would say is that the time that we do have not doing this, the couple things that I worry about, will I lose interest in doing it because I'll be used to the free time? And so I hope that the two of you still feel the I don't want to say drive or desire, but I hope that like you guys still want to do this here in a couple months and we don't get complacent with the time off, and that the time that we do spend together over the next couple months, dreaming up what we do next, we find value in. And so, but like I said, I mean, I really do enjoy doing this. It's one of the few things that I look forward to every week, whether there's 5 people in here or one person. 10,000 views a week to 30. It doesn't matter to me as long as I'm having fun with the two of you. That's all that matters to me. So
that was pretty gushy.
So, all right. Well, I'm going to then close this down for one more time until the fall. So, yeah, we will not be. It says tune in Thursday nights at 8 p.m. But don't believe that, because we ain't gonna be here next week or until October. But yeah, Dan.
Who knows? Maybe we'll pop on and I'll just talk shit.
Yeah, I'll change the password.
That's what you do all the time.
But cool. All right. Well, Dan, enjoy your break. Buddha, enjoy your break.
Thank you.
And we'll be back here again sometime in October, the good Lord will. So, for Dan Rady, Stephen Gibson, Lawrence of the Simpson, Gary Nagel, Robert Tobacash, Joseph Berry, Jason Markovitz. Who am I missing? I don't know. Alex Badzinski. Shannon Badzinski. Rob Taglarina. Nick Riddle. From the mistake on the lake deep within the Great American Rust Belt. Buddha, one more time.